Changing minds one thought at a time.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Changing Minds Online Sunday Night Inspirational Call. Good evening, Akina. How are you doing tonight?
I am great. I'm great. Had a wonderful day today and looking forward to a wonderful show tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's just such a beautiful evening, and I just want to start off this podcast by just giving thanks for this amazing just moment. I'm sitting in my backyard, and I have a fire going in the chimney in my backyard, and I'm looking at just this beautiful full moon, and I'm just so appreciative and so grateful for this moment that we have right now, and this moment where I can come with you, Akina, on this podcast and just share some inspiration and some things that have been really just near and dear to my heart and truly just touching and transforming my life over the past year and especially in the past few weeks and months. And it's just so amazing. And I just really, I was at a point in my life for so long where I just took everything for granted and I wasn't happy and I couldn't see the blessings that I have. And I just want to just encourage you today to just give thanks for this moment. And if you look around you, it's just truly a gift, and every second, every moment is a gift, and I just want to really convey that today and my gratitude for this moment. Kina, today we're going to be talking about something that's just so, so important, and that's really loving yourself. So many of us, we operate from the context that we're not lovable, that we can't be loved, and we never really truly find a way to love ourselves. When I was born, I was a premature baby, and my father used to tell me that I was born in 1986, so that's how old I am. So I'm 29 years old. So I was born, and when I was born, I was in the NICU for a very long time, for several months before I was taken home. And at the time, one of the songs that played a lot on the radio at the time in 1986 was "The Greatest Love of All" from Whitney Houston. And my parents, they used to always tell me that was my song. And I realize now that it's so true, and that even, 29 years later, it still continues to be the theme of my life, the greatest love of all. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And over the past few weeks and months, I've really experienced what it feels like to go from not accepting myself, from criticizing myself, from judging myself, from having these crazy demands and expectations for myself, but always being in judgment of not meeting them, to really learning to love myself and to operate from a different context and a shift in mindset. And it's just been so amazing and so powerful. And I have the last few weeks of my life, they've been some very stressful times, and there are a lot of things in my life right now that are not necessarily working in my favor the way I wanted them to be. But with that same perspective, I have never felt more joy, more peace, more love, and more gratitude for being alive and for having the moments that I have and I feel really in the last few weeks. And I attribute this amazing peace, serenity, this presence, this awareness of how abundant the world is and how great that my life is and how great this gift I've been given is. I attribute that to learning to finally love myself. And so on the call tonight, I want to talk a little bit about what it's like to really come from your heart instead of your head, and how to actually surrender your ego, how to actually let go and come from that context, to shift that context from I can't be loved and I don't love myself to I am lovable and that I live in an abundant world and people love me and I love them, and how to really change that and what that opens up and what it creates for you. A lot of people listening to this call, you listen to this call because we talk about the law of attraction. You're listening to this call because you want to be rich. You want to make money. You want to learn how to grow your business. You want to learn how to just be a successful entrepreneur. And those are all phenomenal goals, and those are goals that I have as well. And some of them I have achieved, and some of them I'm in the process of achieving. But what I've really come to understand and learn throughout my personal development journey is that everything we have, we need, everything we require to be successful, we have already. It's inside of us. And we were created by the divine. We were created in the image of God, and we were created by the divine. And everything that we require is within us. And in order to have access to it, all we need to do is become consciously aware of it. And when we become consciously aware of it, we have this extraordinary gift and this extraordinary power. You know, a lot of people, they think about manifesting, they think about creating, they think that what it's about is really getting what they want in terms of physical things, in terms of, you know, vacations, in terms of cars, in terms of money. And I love to have things and do things, and I have been manifesting those things in my life, you know, more frequently and more successfully than ever. But the truth is that there's nothing that compares to manifesting complete love and joy and just being in your authentic self and being rich spiritually. It's so much more fulfilling and so much more rewarding. And I'm going to invite you tonight into really a very intimate part of my life, and I want to just really open up and share with you what my journey was like, if that's okay. And I want to do that because I know that from my own experience that you'll benefit, and that if I am honest and true and vulnerable with you tonight, that you're going to take away something really special. So I just want to thank you for calling in tonight. And I want to just let you know I appreciate you and I love you. And thank you for creating a safe space for me where I can share with you openly and honestly. And I just want to just give that gift to you that in the next, 20 minutes in our call, I'm going to be authentic and open and honest. I'm going to share with you in my own life, in my experience, how learning to love myself has really just transformed me. Kina, before I do that, I know that you have just been on this journey and process of learning to love yourself as well. Is there anything you want to share with the audience and on what that experience has been like for you?
Oh, yes, Jessica. As a child, I was very, I was kind of spoiled because I was the only child and I stayed with my grandmother a lot. I didn't really get to see my mom a lot because she was always working. So when I started interacting with children, it became a whole nother story. Children didn't act like I acted because I dealt with adults. I didn't deal with children. So my first real reaction with children was at age 4, and that was kind of interesting going into kindergarten like that. And I noticed that, people were mean and they were not very nice all the time, like, the environment I was used to. And eventually I started letting all that negativity kind of seep into me, and I would be like, oh my goodness, maybe I'm not, fun. Maybe I'm not worth being a friend to. Maybe I'm not the person that I thought that I was. And, over the years it just kind of crept up. But, at the end, once I got into college and I started seeing the different things that you could do and the different things that I was about and purpose and things of that nature, I started realizing that, I am that person that I thought I was. I just let other people's opinions change my perception. And that's one thing that we can't do. We can't let other people's opinions change our perception about how we should love ourselves. If we don't love ourselves and we don't have the strength to push off all that negativity, then how can somebody else love us? I gave people my power and I let them decide who I was instead of me standing my ground and saying, this is who I am. You either love it or you don't. And that's the way I feel now. I had to get to a place where I had to learn who I was and my abilities and my strengths. And I also had to learn my weaknesses as well and learn that those weaknesses are okay as well. I can't do everything. I was a person who was, type A in that nature where I thought I had to do everything or it was wrong or there was something wrong with me. But, at the end of the day, you can't please everybody. I had to learn that. You have to love the things you know how to do. And you also have to accept the things you can't do and, find a way to get them done. That's why other people have different talents. That's why the things that I know how to do, certain things I don't know how to do, Jessica does them great. And so when I need that thing, I can go to Jessica and say, hey, Jessica, how do you do that? Or, do you mind helping me with that? And I shouldn't feel shame in that, and I don't, because there was a time when I would have felt shame, but now I don't feel shame because I know my limitations, yet I know my strengths as well. And, she's able to come to me and say, hey, I know how to do this. Can you help me with that? And I'm happy to help her. That is self-love, when you realize who you are inside from the beginning to the end, and you're okay with that, and then you work it. But see, it's one thing to know who you are, but it's another thing to know who you are and then work it. And that's where I am right now. I'm learning to work it. I'm learning to put these pieces together and really sit up there and live in my energy and live in my power and live in my strength. And, that's a good feeling, to go from somebody who felt like they were lower than dirt to someone who knows who they are in their, spiritually, mentally, physically, and be okay with that and be all right to do that. And I'm not saying that there are times when self-doubt doesn't come in. I'm not saying that there's times when, I wish I could, those woulda, coulda, shouldas pop in there. But that's when you have to start reverting over. I'm going through a serious situation right now with my woulda, coulda, shouldas. But I'm pulling out of it now. This is the longest I've ever really lived in them. But I'm pulling out of it because right now I'm realizing that I am a person that deserves love. I am a person that's full of love, and I deserve to live in that love. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be prosperous. And if that is not the case where I am, then I need to move to where I need to be so that I can be in that happiness. I can be in that existence. I can be in that love. A lot of times people think that just because they stay in the same place and don't get out of their box that love is going to come. No, love is not going to come knocking on your door. You're going to have to be out there and be ready to go get it, to seize the moment, to live in the moment. We just did a show on that, living in the moment so that you can get that love that you deserve, that you can sit up there and live in that love that you are deserving, that you already have inside you, that power that exists beyond all understanding. And I've been having these aha moments lately, and I wanted to share that with you because, usually this is Jessica's realm. But I don't know why today I feel like talking, but okay, I'm going with it. But, I learned something today. You got to wake up. You got to stand up. And then you got to, reach up, and then you got to lift up. And those are the things that you're going to do to get that love that you deserve, to live in that love that you have inside of you, to realize that you have everything that you need to survive right now. All you're going to be doing is looking up towards the hills. You're moving onward and upwards. Your focus should be straight upward. And that's what my self-love means to me. Because I spent almost all my life looking down. But now I look up, and I look up at the love. I look up at the one that loves me every day. I start my morning looking up. I start my day in prayer and meditation, looking up to my Father. And I ended looking up to my Father because that's what makes me whole. And that's what gives me peace. And that's what sustains my love. And then I try my best to do something for somebody else every day by lifting somebody else up. And that's what loving myself meant to me. Because I can't do anything for me and not give back to someone else who may not feel that love. How can I not have that love inside me and then not share it with someone else? That's just a thought that I had in my heart today, Jessica.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Akina, for sharing with us. And, it's so personal, and I'm so grateful for you that you shared this on the show. And my experience is different. And, what I love about us, when we come together is that we are so different, but in many ways so much the same. And we just make great partners because we really complement each other well, right? The things like you said on the show, the things that you know how to do, I don't know how to do, and the things that I know how to do, you may not be you may not be able to do, and it works together well. But we also have different experiences, and my experience was a little bit different. I always knew that I was good at things, but yet I never was good at relationships. And even from when I was a young child, Akina, just like you, from when I was in preschool and kindergarten and elementary school, middle school, high school, all through that, I never really had friends. I wasn't able to develop meaningful relationships. And nor did I have really great relationships with my family, with my mother, my father, my brother. We never really had strong bonds and strong connections. And I realized recently, and this took a lot of self-discovery and a lot of work. What I realized recently was that I ultimately didn't love myself. It's often said that, if you don't love yourself, that you can't love anyone else. And, it's said to the point that it's cliche and overused. But what I really learned is just how much truth there is. And I'd like to add to that. If you don't love yourself, you can't recognize when other people love you. And that's the bottom line, is that, I was walking around and I thought that nobody loved me. I thought that people didn't care about me. And I would walk into a room and I would, go to a networking event, or I'd go to a meetup group, or I would, go to a party and I would meet people. And I would be operating from this belief, this context, this idea that people wouldn't like me. And so I would do things like forget people's names. I'm a very, very intelligent woman. I have, 2 master's degrees. I am capable. I have a 4.0 in one of my degrees. Just so capable, and yet I wouldn't remember people's names. And it struck me that I ultimately just didn't necessarily believe that they would ever be important in my life, that I didn't think they could like me. So my mind just blocked that from being important. I wasn't great at communication, and I wouldn't have meaningful conversations. I would check out if people would say things to me, or people would try to start a conversation with me, and I wouldn't even recognize it. And I would come across as aloof or rude or abrupt to people, and I wasn't even aware that that's the way I was coming across. But the reason why I was coming across that way is because I didn't think that they could like me or love me. And so I just didn't even see the attempts to friendship, the attempts to create friendship, the attempts to be loving towards me. And, I just couldn't love myself. And it got to the point where, I was in a relationship with someone who stood for me all the time and who loved me and cared about me. And anything that I wanted, this person just stood for me. And I'm back together with this person now. Currently, he's my current boyfriend again. And it wasn't until I learned to love myself, I realized that he truly loved me, that anything I wanted, he believed that I could do, that he would support me 100% of the way. I wanted to run a marathon, he ran with me. I wanted to go to California to a convention, and he was right there with me. And I wanted to do a personal development workshop, and he stood there, and he did it for me too. And, all of these different evidence, all these different examples to prove, right, that he loved me, that I was lovable. There wasn't enough evidence in the world. And that's the thing about it, is that when we operate from this context that we're not lovable, that we can't experience love, that really we're not good at relationships, that we don't have great friendships, there's no evidence in the world to convince us otherwise. And the reason is our brains filter out all that information. See, our brains, what it does is it reinforces whatever we believe to be true. It's called our reticular activating system, or our RAS, and it filters out information. That's why 2 people can see an accident and see completely different things. So every day we walk through the world and our brain just finds all of these things. It just reinforces what we believe to be true. So for me, I believe that I was not lovable. So I found all the evidence to suggest that, despite the abundance and prevalence of evidence to suggest otherwise. That's all I could see. And it wasn't until that I really learned to love myself that I actually understood my parents love me, that I have friends that care about me, that genuinely care about me, that I have family that cares about me, that I have this amazing man in my life who truly loves me unconditionally and cares about me and will do anything for me. And I couldn't see that. And I ultimately couldn't see that because I just couldn't love myself. I was operating from this scarcity mindset. And what it really comes down to is really judging yourself. And that's what I've learned, and just not being an acceptance of yourself. So for me, I am a very, very intense person, and I'm very passionate about personal development. I always want to improve, and I always want to be better and get better. And so, for me, even when I was in high school, I was in middle school, or even prior to middle school. I took my SATs at the age of 12. And when I was in 6th grade, 7th grade, I would take, LSAT books, MCAT books. I would study. I would take SAT tests. I was obsessed with knowledge information. I would read encyclopedias from when I was in 1st grade, 2nd grade, and that carried on. So even now, I don't have cable. I didn't have a TV for a number of years, and I'm going to be getting cable again and turning it back on because I just realized that I don't need to be so, it's not balanced. I don't need to be so extreme. And I'm gonna start doing those things again. I would only listen to audiobooks. I wouldn't listen to music, and I would only do this and I would only do that. And I was so focused on just this one extreme of being the best that I lost my purpose. I lost my vision. I lost what it was all about. And I had this huge ideal of what I thought I should be able to accomplish. And no matter what I accomplished, and I accomplished amazing things. I mean, in my lifetime, I've accomplished amazing things. I truly have, like things that people don't do in their entire life. I've accomplished by 30 years old, and not even 30 yet. I'm 29. And I should be so proud of myself, but I couldn't be. And I couldn't be because I was in judgment about myself. I didn't meet my own standards, and I was never going to meet my own standards. And the difficulty is that when we set standards we set standards for ourselves to meet. We're always going to wind up falling short in our eyes, because no matter what we do, we're always going to set the standard a little higher, and we're always going to miss it. And we're always going to set the standard a little higher than we could actually do, whether or not it's physically even impossible. And we're going to do that because that type of mentality, it's a form of self-sabotage. It's a way to keep us stuck where we are. It's a limiting belief. It's a scarcity mindset. And it blocks us from being our true, authentic selves. It's our ego, right? Our ego conversation. And that's what keeps us there stuck. And we're just stuck. And when we want to truly just experience life in its fullest, its richest, and just have absolute complete abundance in all areas of our life, physically, financially, just relationships and money and spiritually, and just genuinely having peace and joy and happiness, which when you just have those things, I mean, they're so much better than anything else. And it's really fantastic, phenomenal, loving relationships. It starts with being an acceptance of ourselves. It starts with believing in ourselves. It just starts with just being who we are, loving all parts of ourselves, loving the good part of ourselves and the bad part of ourselves. And it's just when we get to do that, when we really truly understand what that is, when we fully accept ourselves and love ourselves, like Akina said, it's about being focused on the present, about this moment. There's just this peace, there's this joy with just knowing that what we have is right now. What we have is this gift, and that we are just these loving, divine beings. And we get to this point where we get to be loved for the world, and we get to be loved for ourselves. And as a result, our relationships change. Our relationships with ourselves change. Our relationship with other people changes. We can experience true love, the true love of being alive, the true love of God, the true love of friendship, the true love of intimate relationships, and truly loving us. And there's this one quote, and, I want to share it with you. And this is something I heard when I did a personal development workshop, and I don't think I fully understood it until recently. And it says, I love me so I can love you, so you can love you, so you can love me. And I'm going to say that again. And I don't know where this quote came from or who said it first, but it's just so powerful when you really get it. It says, I love me so I can love you, so you can love you, so you can love me. And I'm going to say that one more time because I really, really want it to sink in, and then I'm going to just elaborate on it. I love me so I can love you, so you can love you, so you can love me. In the beginning of this call, what I said was that if we want to have true relationships, if we want to really experience love, we have to operate from the context that we are lovable. You know, and I brought up that cliche that said, you know, in order to really love someone else, you must love yourself. Well, that's true, but that's not the whole story. The whole story is we must love ourselves so we can love someone else, so they can love themselves, so they can in turn love us. So if you're like me, if you were like how I was, and you're listening to this call tonight, and you think, I don't have great friendships, I don't have great relationships. I was burned in the past. You know, I was in a relationship before. I was burned, and I don't want to do that again. I don't want to open my heart up to that again. I can't experience that again. You know, I just have never been in love. You know, maybe you're sitting here and you're 30 years old, 40 years old, or older, and you're just sitting here saying, I've never been in love. I don't really know what love is like. I've had, you know, fun relationships, and I've had great intimacy, but I've never experienced love. I invite you to really just think about if possibly the reason is not because other people don't love you. It's that you never loved yourself, so you could never see it. And I wanted to just share with you tonight, because just coming to that understanding and that realization has touched and changed my life in a way that I think nothing else ever has. You know, I've done some pretty phenomenal things, and I've had some incredible breakthroughs in the last few years. I mean, just getting healthy and losing weight and starting to run and healing myself physically of medical issues, and just, you know, publishing books and the podcast, and just having television appearances, and just breakthroughs with learning to get organized and manage my time, and just getting another master's degree, and all these phenomenal things I did. But nothing, none of those things I've ever done compares with the peace, with the joy, with the love that I've experienced by just learning to accept myself and love myself unconditionally. So, Kina, that's all I have to say tonight. And you know, is there anything you want to add to before we close our podcast down? I know we're just about at 9:30 when we finish our show.
Oh, yes. I mean, I definitely loved your quote tonight. That was very beautiful. You know, I can definitely relate with that. You know, I was having a conversation with my mother because about some other thing, and I was talking to her, and I said, you know, I've accomplished everything that I could do by myself. Everything that I've ever wanted to do in life that didn't require anybody else, I have accomplished it. The things that I wanted to do that require another person, however, not so much. And, you know, and I sat back and thought about it, you know, being married, having children, things of that nature, and I haven't accomplished those things. And I was thinking back, and I was just like, you know, what you just said about maybe, you know, because you didn't love yourself, you know, you may have missed out on the love that other people had for you. And I went back through my archives and my mind frame, and that's true. There was several people that, you know, loved me, but, you know, I was so driven with being Dr. Finch or being whatever it was at the time that I missed the boat. I could have had all those things I wanted, but I missed it. And, you know, so it's very important to love yourself and to be aware of what's going around you in that love so you don't miss the boat. If something that we said tonight resonated with you, please find us on Changing Minds Online. You can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Tuned In, and, of course, YouTube.
And so I, you know, add to the Kina, just thank you, everyone, for calling in tonight. I just want to just let you know that we love you. We really do, and we do these shows for you. And we're just so proud of you for taking time, either if you're listening live on this Sunday evening or if you're listening in podcast mode, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Just want to let you know that we're just truly grateful for you. I pray for you. I love you so much, and I'm so just in awe of the fact that you're trusting us enough, and I'm so grateful you're trusting us enough to really just allow you to take you on this journey with us. And, you know, it's been a journey, and it will always be on this journey. I will always be on the journey of making my life better and just touching the world with what I've come to understand, and just always developing more awareness of who I am, my purpose is. So with that said, you know, God bless you. just make it a really, really powerful week. I just want to invite you to have just a week that's successful, and I just want you to have so much joy this week. So, have an amazing, amazing evening. God bless, and we'll be with you again on Thursday night for our Empowering Women series. Have a great night, Akina.
You too, Jessica, and good night, everyone.